Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist, that's a CBT therapist, and a licensed mental health counselor. This is for educational purpose only. These are all my thoughts, my beliefs. This is for educational purpose. Condolence to the families. May the correct justice be served. I wanted to show you all what was actually happening between 2 a.m. right up to 3:16, I believe, to show you my debate where I believe something is completely wrong. Something is off with this case. I am one person who's 50-50 in this case. I've always said there's a possibility that Brian Koberger could have been part of these crimes. There's a possibility that he wasn't part of the crimes, but he planned it. But when I pay attention to everything that's happening between 2 a.m. to 3:16, 3:30, even the data activities with the college students sending each other Venmos, everything that is happening around, it makes me believe that there are multiple suspects. That's what I've always believed, and that's why from the very beginning of this case, I always focused on the FRATS, especially the Sigma Chi fraternity, and there's a reason to that. If you pay attention to all the activities that are happening at the grub truck, people could have just been there innocently buying food, but it wasn't that way in my opinion. Everyone who was there right before Kaylee came and Maddie, 10 minutes before they came, right up to the fact that Hoodie guy is escorting them, he was threatening them on the way, all that was part of the pre-planned act, in my opinion. The more I try to think wisely in this case, try to avoid speculations, try to avoid conspiracies, yet things don't make sense to me because I'm actually showing you what I see, exposing things like Saeed watching Kaylee on his phone, Saeed watching other pictures like Jovito, Hayden, all of them watching those pictures on their phones. The crowd yelling Xana, Ethan, the Banfield boys, the FRATS party, the 4chan article, put them all together. They can't all just be coincidence. I refuse to buy that. I'm analyzing their behavior. I'm analyzing what they're wearing. I'm analyzing who is actually communicating with who. Everyone at the grub truck before Kaylee and Maddie came. In fact, it's interesting. Their neighbors are part of the people who were there. They came to buy food. I know the grub truck is a known hub, but it's quite coincidentally that DM and BF are now saying that when they came home, Maddie and Kaylee and BF and DM were sitting and talking in Kaylee's room, and that BF called the driver. She texted the private shared driver that drove Maddie and Kaylee at home. She texted him at 2:10 because she wanted to go to the grub truck or to one of the food trucks and get a grub because they thought the food was so delicious. Make that make sense. It can't be Maddie and Kaylee because they were just at the grub truck and Hoodie Guy was stalking them so they wouldn't want to go to that hassle of going outside again and they were intoxicated. So is this something that DM and BF cooked up? I hate to use the word, but is that something they made up? This whole 911 call has been put on a gag order for a reason from the beginning. Because they knew once the 911 call comes out and the transcript, they knew the world would go crazy about it. People will have 10,000 questions because it's absolutely not normal. It's absolutely not okay, no matter in what frozen shock you are. I'm saying that respectfully as a mental health counselor. It's impossible for someone to have been in a frozen shock for 8 hours. Because let's not forget, let's go back to the beginning. If they were in a frozen phase, as a therapist, I know one thing for a fact. You have a couple of modes. Once you see something, just say you see a bear. Either you freeze, either you fight, or you basically go into a flight mode. So for you, for a person to have froze for 8 hours is a kind of a mode you go into. That's where your mood, your anxiety, your depression, whatever, takes you into. So for you to get into that mode, you wouldn't be able to be in a frozen state of mind, in a shock, and that you are up texting each other. Bethany Funk and BF were texting each other, let's not forget. That doesn't make sense. They can't be in a frozen state of shock. Then DM says she ran to BF's room downstairs. And when she ran, she came across Xana laying on the floor with her head towards the door, towards the wall. She saw all that and she ran down to BF's room. Why would she think that Xana is intoxicated and she's just lying on the floor when Xana has a bed? Where was Ethan? If she couldn't see Ethan, I believe Ethan was on the other side of the floor. There's a lot of red liquid seeping out of the walls on the outer surface of the house. DM and BF must have heard what happened that night. It's impossible that things are coming out bit by bit, that DM actually saw Xana laying on the floor. So, okay, she went down to BF's room. Wouldn't she tell BF, guess what? I saw Xana laying on the floor. Wouldn't BF say, you know what? Somebody's in the house. There's something happening. If you're scared, let's do the right thing. Let's call the cops because maybe our life is in danger. But they didn't have that need. That is not being in a frozen shock. She said she saw one eyebrow. How come she didn't see two eyebrows? She has bushy eyebrows all over her room. She has pictures of bushy eyebrows. So did she see one of her pictures in the dark, or did she actually see Brian Christopher Koberger? There were many people who had bushy eyebrows that night. Let's be honest. Saeed was one of them at the Banfield. And so was the other young guy at the Banfield with his hands crossed. Adam has bushy eyebrows. That is not a right description to come with. I don't blame Ann Taylor for trying to drop off that one. That is kind of discrimination. She says he was white, but yet again she didn't see him. Yet again she saw him because he had a bushy eyebrow. she would have seen that the bushy eyebrows, either on a white face, on a brown face, a black face, it would be on no matter what skin color you have. Your eyebrows are on top of your face. That has nothing to do with the color of your skin. So who is DM trying to fool you? I hate to say that word, but it's the truth. We all are trying to be respectful and mindful and never attack the surviving roommates. And I don't encourage anyone to do that. But the questions are just pointing way away and away from Brian Koberger right now. It's pointing towards the FRATS for the over 2.5 years, especially now that we're hearing 3 unidentified mixed male DNAs was under Maddie's nails. I wonder if they didn't find any DNA under Xana's nails for some purpose. Why were these students cremated? All 4 of them. May they rest in peace. I went back and listened to one of the clips. The coroner said all 4 of them had multiple knife wounds. You heard me. All 4 of them had. So it's not just like Steve says, I believe, that Kaylee had the worst. He wouldn't know what kind of wounds Ethan Chapin and Xana Kanoodle had. I promise you that. I don't think the parents will be sharing it with them. So all of them got multiple stab wounds. And it was all from the chest and up over, from the torso up over. I personally believe this was pre-planned. Let's see what was going on from 2 a.m. right up to the Banfield boys. All those movements are important. We know that there was a Sigma Chi fraternity party that night. Stop, please stop. From the undercover police camera. Both the officers. And that is something Chris McDonough has pointed out in the beginning of the case. What is the chances of it being a coincidence that we hear stop, please stop on the 2 body cams of the undercover police in the Banfield stop with Saeed and the 3 other guys? And allegedly we hear stop, please stop on the Linda Lane footage. I don't think that can be a coincidence. And let's not forget, stop, please stop was 2 minutes after Kaylee and Maddie called Jack D lost. So is it the same stop, please stop? And let's not forget, now we have found out from the 911 transcript that at 2:53, Maddie Morgan, MM, called BF or DM, one of them. We need to go back to the transcript, but that is important. Maddie Morgan made a call to one of the surviving roommates at 2:53. At 2:55 is when we hear, stop it, stop. You hear it from the Banfield officer's cameras. Both of their radios records that. So that's a fact, that's not a speculation.
Hey, is that here? Is that here? Yeah, I'm 21. You got any idea? No. I'll take you back on the car, right? Okay. No, they just took off. I told them to stop this. I'm not going to push it.
So I believe this was all to distract. 5 and 16 seconds when we hear stop it, stop, a female yelling from the undercover officers' camera. The audio caught it. 2:53. Sorry, 2:54 is when the Banfield alcohol stop starts. The boys start running in the field around 2:53. 2:54, the police put on their torch. They asked them to stop. The boys continue running or walking fast inside the field. They could have thrown anything, weapons, clothes, anything in the field. It was too dark, pitch black. The cop had to run after them, put his torch on, and then he spoke to Saeed first. That was 2:54. 2:53. Let's not forget, 2:53 is when Maddie Morgan is calling DMOBF. That came out in the transcripts. 2:52 was the last call Maddie Morgan made to Jack D. So I believe Maddie and Kaylee were alive up to 2:52. Something happened at 2:53 for Maddie to be calling one of the surviving roommates. 2:55 at the Banfield body cam from both the police's officers, you can hear a female yelling at 2:55, "Stop it, stop." And this is the timeline of Banfield. 3:12, the Banfield officer's body cam saw 4 to 5 figures running from 1122 Kings Road towards Sigma Chi Fraternity. Are all these things connected? Maybe, maybe not. But I just don't believe in what the media is trying to tell us, that it was just a normal college night and the college boys were just jogging or walking home and all, making it seem like it was nothing. You always have to pay attention to what was happening before the unalivings happened. Once you get the timeline wrong, then you have a serious problem. Nothing is going to go right if the timeline is wrong, which it is. In the beginning, we were told it was between 3 to 4 a.m. The coroner told us that the deaths was pronounced after 2 a.m. She would know better with the digestion of the food and everything. They would know exactly what time the students were unalived. 2:55, "Stop it, stop." Many people used to think it was Kaylee, but I believe it was Maddie. Unless Kaylee was using Maddie's phone. Because somebody called for Maddie's phone to the surviving roommates. And Jack D called himself possibly. Was he at the crime scene? He could have called from Maddie's phone to himself and then from Kaylee's phone to himself. It's just a possible way of thinking. Or maybe the surviving roommates, let's not forget, they're the authors of this book, Idaho 4. I don't mean a book like in a book because this is serious. This is heartbreaking. But they are leading the narratives. I've never said this is a cover-up. I don't believe the police are covering up anything. And the FBI stand for the federal law. Yes, we've seen cover-up things here and there in some cases, but just this case is more than a cover-up. This is what the surviving roommates and the FRATS and the sororities decided to make the police believe. And now, here we are, 2.5 years later, trying to make sense of this nonsense. I personally do not believe that the surviving roommates are witnesses. Yes, they could be victims of being in an environment where four young students, their friends were unalived. Yes, I'm being mindful. They could be traumatized over what they saw and heard. But there's something being hidden here. There's something that they're not telling us here. Because it doesn't take 8 hours unless you feel safe to be in the crime scene, or unless you're part of the involvement of the crimes itself. Allegedly. This was a party house. The quicker we understand it, the better. I feel sorry for all the 4 victims. I've tried always, and I'm still trying to keep my opinion to myself for the most. But if you're going to do something, we have to do it right. If you're researching something, you have to research it right. And after, with all the researches that I've done, it may not be completely right, but there's a lot of truth in it. And since solving this case on this beginning, I can tell you, like I said in the beginning, there's multiple suspects involved. That's why it didn't shock me that the defendants lawyer said that. Koberger couldn't have done this by himself, even if he did this. Can you picture Koberger switching 2 different knives? Or could you picture him coming like Doctor Who with a kit with different, like Jack the Ripper, coming with a kit with different items? 2:55. You hear a female yelling, "Stop it, stop." I believe that is really important. That is something they should have taken out and put it in as evidence. Find out if the female was just joking around, or if somebody fell and got hurt, or if somebody was being grabbed, or if somebody was being unalived. Stop it, stop. And he came on both the officer is police cam. And the figures running too. 2:55 and 16 seconds when we hear "Stop it, stop," a female yelling from the undercover officers is camera. The audio caught it. And then we hear something that says, "Stop it, please stop," at the Linda Lane footage. Although many people are saying that's a fake footage, I don't think that's actually exactly a fake footage, because I'll show you.
Yeah. 19. Yeah. That one is a little clearer. Stop it, stop. I'm going to play it again. Listen. 19. Yeah. 21. Karen, what do you think?
Hear it. You can definitely clearly hear it from that officer's body cam. My question is, it's going to be an obvious question. Were there other students or young people in that field far away where it got picked up, right? I mean, I'm looking at this, where else could those screams have been?
So it's 2:55 and 16 seconds that we hear it in the audio of the undercover police. Both the undercover's camera audio catches "Stop it, stop." One is more clearer than the other. And that was in the Banfield. And then in Linda Lane, we hear "Stop it, please stop." Allegedly, the Linda Lane footage is one that there's a lot of dispute about. But I'm starting to wonder if the Linda Lane footage is actually correct. Because if the timeline, if the Linda Lane footage says stop it, stop, or stop it, please stop at 2:55 and 16 seconds, that means it is the same one that was heard from the undercover detectives. Both of the undercover cops is audio. The body cams, one was clear, more clearer than the other. And that was at 2:55. Maddie, his phone was last called from to Jack D at 2:52 and a couple of seconds. Something happened around 2:55. In fact, from 2:52, when Maddie made a last call to Jack D, 2:53, Maddie makes a call to either DM or BF. It's written in the 911 transcript. I think nobody picked up. There was 2:53, and at 2:55, we have a female yelling, "Stop it, stop." I believe they all are connected. Whether it was Maddie or whether it was Kaylee, Kaylee could have been using Maddie's phone. She could have left hers in her room, and she must have heard a noise from Kaylee's bedroom, from Maddie's bedroom, and Kaylee went to check, and they threw on the bed, and unfortunately she was unalived. But I do believe that all four of the students, all four of the victims were targets by different people, multiple people. That's why there was different weapons used on Katie. And Ethan and Zana were unalived at the same time. That shows you there were multiple suspects, like we always believed. Most of us, at least, or some of us.
No, okay. Oops, where did it go? Yeah. Okay, at 02:55:16.
This is for fair use purpose. This is from the interview room. Chris McDonough and Karen, lovely people. Chris has been a cop for over 20 years. He's worked in the San Diego Detective Department. He's a former detective. Plus, although he lives in Hawaii with his wife, Chris is the founder of the Cold Case Foundation, where, thank God, they're going to cold cases. So Chris has a lot of experience, and it was him who found out this part because he knows about these cameras, the cop cameras and radios, and he heard a female yelling, "Stop it, stop." So he's saying that should have been discluded and put aside as evidence, and I really believe that. Chris found the black glove too, and I showed you the boys in the band field, I personally believe, had a black glove on.
At 02:55:16, you can hear, and this is another part. If you have headsets, put your headsets on or put your earbuds in. Okay, we're gonna take a second here. Put your headsets and your earbuds on. Okay? At 02:55:16, and I did a bunch of replays here. And this microphone is facing the house on that body camera. Okay? Tell me what you hear. And driver license? I don't know, in general. Awesome birthday. Yeah, I'd like you. I've listened to this thing 1,000 times. I'm going to submit to you somebody is saying stop.
Stop it,
Now,
stop.
who that is, I have no idea.
Stop
But
it,
as an
stop.
investigator, if I was on this case, I would say, what am I hearing here? And isolate this audio. Okay, very carefully. Listen to it again on replay. You have driver's license? I don't have it. No, in general. Cross the birthday. Yeah, I'll let you break that. You have driver's license? I don't have it. No, in general. Cross the birthday. Yeah, I'll let you break that. You have driver's license? I don't have it. Okay, now this one is the other officer who is writing a ticket, and it's a little bit further up at about 312.45, where I saw some things where people were saying, yeah, there's somebody else yelling in that. I don't think so. I think it's the officer ripping his ticket and handing it to...
So was this the same timeline at 2:55 and 16 seconds on Linder Lane footage? Stop it, stop.
16. And this is what I think I hear. Yeah. 19. Yeah.
I find this to be very interesting. Somebody wrote, from what I was gathering from reading through some of the archived posts on 4chan, which holy headache, that place is a mess. It sounds like the OP of the photos on 4chan was posting a bunch of nonsensical things around the time of the unalivings or just before. Another user on there called them illiterate for their babbling. The OP, 4chan, not this OP, the OP, 4chan, not this OP, okay? Then posted the dark photo at 3:09 and titled it illiterate in the photo, which you can see in the links above. Then they posted a minute later of the one with the woman. I remember hearing that they posted a picture of one of the victims. I think it was Kaylee and Maddie, and they said they're done with one. Then they posted a minute later of the one with the woman at 3:10 and said it said first step. The photo's original post shoe, I can't see it. The photo's original post, though I can't see it, allegedly were with coordinates or metadata with coordinates that were right next to the house or near the house. So the users there were wondering if it was being posted in real time. Unknown, but they're theorizing that the photos are actually from outside on a roof and looking in, and then it appeared that the police were then investigating the eye line through the window of the floor shortly after the post of 4chan. That is... wow. I hope you all understood it. Basically, the police was checking to they were investigating the eye line of, the window and the roofs of the sky to the window. I'm sure from Sigma Chi to the third floor on 1122 Kings Road. So they believe they must have used... It was unknown, but they're theorizing that the photos were actually from outside on a roof and looking in. You know what makes me think of? Y'all remember the infamous ladder that was lying on the side of the house? What if they used that ladder to climb up, not to Xana's room, but to climb up the roof? Would that be possible? So they were looking through the roof into the house. So let's see, it starts from the another user on there called them illiterate for their babbling. The OP for Chan, not the OP, then posted their dark photo at 3:09 and it titled it illiterate in the photo. 3:09. What was going on at 3:09? The figures started running at 3:12. So this was 3 minutes before they ran. That is after they did the second step. And I believe Ethan and Zana were unalived earlier. Then they posted a minute, so 3:09. The OP4chan, not this OP, then posted the dark photo at 3:09 and titled it illiterate in the photo, which you can see in the links above. Then they posted a minute later of the one with the woman at 3:10 and it said first step. Oh my God. The photos are rigid poster. I can't see it. They allegedly were coordinated. Okay. So the police were aware about this and they were checking the skylines. I remember I've had this post for maybe the first 3 weeks of the case. There's so much I have to go through that I have. But I can't barely remember where I stored most of the information, but I'll try and go back to both my channels. I do have some clips in my other channel, Huda London Psychology and Crime. I will be going back to that channel very soon. But this case, I have all my work in this case, especially another important case like missing Summer Wells and Nicola Bully. I have them all in this channel, so I prefer for now, since this case is in such an important place and everything I've worked on, and my channel has worked on, my subscribers have worked on, are actually starting to come true. Things that I can't say we predicted, but things that my research and our research showed us from the beginning. We always knew there were multiple people who were there at the crime scene. And I don't understand why people are not focusing on the Banfield boys. They are more important than anyone. There's questions there. Where did they come from? Where were they off to? So 3:12 is when the figures were running. This was going on at 3:10. So they posted a woman and they said first step. And let's not forget, Maddie was running around, calling at least around 2:53. I can really picture her running down the steps and somebody chasing her and touching the railing with their red liquid on the hand, like Aunt Taylor said. I want to know if the surviving roommates were involved. How involved were they? Did they leave the doors open on purpose? Were they part of this? Because this looks very, very pre-planned. Let me know what y'all think. Please like, share, and subscribe. May the victims rest in peace.